Hello, everybody. Today I'd like to talk about a subject which is called releasing attachments to existing reality. And the reason I chose this topic is because I feel that it's not widely understood and it's not very much talked about, even though it's a topic which is really, really important for our current journey on Earth, both individually and collectively. So why did I choose this subject? Because in spiritual circles, there is a lot of focus in these years, these days, and these months on the ascension process, leaving the current reality, and we're like all ascending into different levels, higher vibratory levels, you can say. And there's a lot of talking about the 4D, 5D ascension process, creating the new earth or heaven on earth, whatever you want to call it. It's the same process which is described in different ways. But the basic idea is the same. However, there's like a backside to this process which is not talked about or maybe not even understood, which I feel is very, very important to talk about, because otherwise, if you don't know, if you don't understand this journey, if you don't know how this journey functions, you might get lost, you might get very scared, and you might get really confused. So the more you understand the journey, the more you know where you are in the transition process, it's easier to like follow your inner GPS to the right place. So when you're on this journey, it feels like you're leaving this place, like you're leaving this plane of consciousness and you're traveling to another place, which is partly correct, but technically speaking, it's like this is an inner journey. It's like a journey happening inside of your consciousness. And whatever is happening inside of you will be reflected in the outer world outside of you. So your inner journey is just mirrored by the outer world, what you're experiencing outside of yourself. And when you're on this journey, there are some elementary principles, some very basic spiritual principles, which are really nice to understand, which make the journeying easier. Not always necessarily less painful, but the process becomes easier the more you understand it. So what my guides told me last year, which I didn't quite understand at that time, but I'm gaining the understanding now. They said to me literally last year, when you're ascending to a higher vibratory level, when you're ascending to a different place in consciousness, you cannot keep what you have created on a lower level of consciousness when you ascend to a different level. So your current or previous reality has to go. It has to disappear. It has to rearrange. It has to get a new form. And at that time, I wasn't quite clear what they meant. It wasn't quite clear what they meant. So I started digging a bit deeper into this subject, just to understand how these things function. And then I realized that when you know something about reality creation, you understand that your inner reality defines the outer world. It's not vice versa. Whatever you're creating from the inside is reflected back to you. And when the reality shifts, when your inner reality shifts, your outer reality is going to start shifting too. But not necessarily in the ways that you expect. And this is a very crucial point to understand. So as you transition, as you move forward on this journey, your world around you, the world experience around you is going to shift and change too. but you're not going to be able to control how, because you're not in control, not really. And when one level of creation, the inner creation, is getting changed, then the other level, the outer level, is changing too. So it's like kind of like when you die, it's the same principle. When you die, you don't disappear, you're still here, but your energy is not, it's not physical anymore, it's just getting non-physical, it's just vibrating on a different level, on like higher speed. So you're still here, vibrating at a higher speed, so you're invisible to the people around you, the physical people around you. You can see them or you can sense them, they cannot sense you normally. But the point is that when you're going onto that journey of higher vibration, of not being so physical anymore, you can't take anything with you. So your current or existing reality has to go. Life on earth that you knew as a physical being, with all the people around you and the job you had or the pension you had and the place where you lived, when you transition into a non-physical state of being, that reality is no longer a match to the new state of being. So it has to go, it has to disappear, because you start creating a different set of circumstances around you. So each vibratory level has a specific set of circumstances or outer reality that you can experience at that level. So this is actually why what we're living now in these days can seem like the end of times, because people are expecting that we're like ascending and we're going to experience more love and light and everything's going to be just wonderful. And this is actually what we're heading into. But the process, the journey, is not necessarily like that, because the journey has a backside, which not many people talk about. Because as we are progressing into higher realities or higher vibratory realities, our current world seems to be dispersing. It seems to be like falling apart. Like there's like wars and people are leaving, people are dying, there's wars and economic problems, and it's going to intensify because it's a part of the process. So when like my clients or people I teach, when they ask, okay, so will my family and friends, will they still be around when we like progress to a different level of consciousness? The best thing I can say is like, I don't know, but not necessarily. You cannot expect that, because we all have different journeys. We all have different contracts on the vibratory level, on the soul level, and your journey is not necessarily compatible with theirs. And this might come as a surprise to many people. It might sound shocking for many people, but it's like a part of this vibratory reality. When we're transitioning, we create a different world around us. It could be a better world or different world, but it's different. It's not the same. That's the point. And we cannot expect that the people and the circumstances we have around us right now will remain the same like 5 years down the road if we are shifting our vibration, because our world is also going to shift the vibration. Our outer world is going to be different. What we experience, what we see around us is going to be different. And we have to prepare ourselves for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty bumpy journey. Yes. So what we are seeing in these days or these months, and especially now, this autumn, I feel that the energy is shifting massively. It's shifting into a kind of releasing kind of energy, where we have to learn how to release what we have created up to now, what we have created both individually and collectively on this level of reality. We have to start learning and accepting that there's going to be stages in which we have to release the current reality in order to be able to progress to the next level of reality, where we're going to start creating something different, something new, which we cannot see yet, but it's on the way. And this is why at the current stage and the stages which are coming in the next couple of years, we're seeing a lot of people leaving our reality, and this is getting kind of scary. People are getting confused and lost and anxious, because this is not really what we were expecting. But the point to understand is that you cannot jump from like this level to that level without passing the middle level. There are some transitional stages which we have to understand, we have to pass through. And you can basically picture this journey like, let's say you have a big ship, you're sailing in a big ship from one shore to another shore. When you leave the shore, you're in the middle of the ocean. You don't yet know where you are, because you know you're heading towards the other shore, but you can't see it yet. But you've sailed long enough, far enough, that you cannot see the first shore anymore. So like in the middle of nowhere, you're in the middle of a huge body of water, which can be pretty stormy. And unless you have a very firm, very clear inner GPS telling you that there's another shore, I'm heading for it, I might not see it yet, but I'm on the way. I know that. I can feel it, I can sense it, and I know there's a plan. I know there's a GPS telling me where to go, where to sail. And you have to trust that there's a shore out there that you're sailing for. If you don't have that firm conviction, if you don't really have this inner GPS firmly in place, this ride might get quite bumpy. It might get quite chaotic. It might get scary. So it's very important to just keep focus on the shore where I'm sailing to, which is the vibrational level where I want to be. Because when you get to the other shore, when you get to the other vibration, you're no longer bound to the previous vibration, and you have passed this huge body of water where there's nothing. There's maybe chaos, and there's maybe like tempest. You have lost your bearings, but when you get through, you'll start creating something different. You'll see something different. You'll arrive at a different kind of world. And this is where you want to be. But in the process, you have to expect that there will be stages where you won't know where you are. It will seem very, very unclear. And it might seem very scary, but it's a part of the process, and it's normal. Another spiritual principle which is important to understand is the principle of polarities. Like in this dualistic system, which we call the Earth, the planet Earth, everything consists of polarities, because we live in a duality world, duality creation. So everything's like, it has a side and a back side. So it's like light and darkness, male, female, yin and yang, up and down. Everything's like opposites. Everything has its opposite. And everything is basically defined by the opposites. So the more light we are moving into, high vibrations, the more darkness is going to keep surfacing. And this is what we are seeing in this current period, especially the last couple of years, that there's like more and more darkness surfacing in the world. And many of us are going like, okay, what is going on? This is not meant to be. What are these scary things? Why is this happening? And it's also a part of the process, because it just shows us we're on the right way vibrationally, that we are actually heading for that shore, which is much lighter. And because light has darkness as the polarity, when you're moving into the light, you will be uncovering the darkness that exists. It's always existed here. This is nothing new, but it's just becoming more and more visible. And the more visible it gets, the more scared we get, because we don't really expect it. We never think about that. But it's a part of the process, and it's okay. It has to show its head. It has to show its ugly head, because it's gonna be exposed. So it's a good thing, even if it's very, very uncomfortable to be in the middle of that process right now. And it's gonna intensify in the next couple of years. It's very probably going to intensify a lot. But yeah, as I say, it's just a part of the deal, the vibratory deal. That's the backside, not many talk about. So another principle is that I would call it the birthing principle, is that we need to be able to accept the change that comes. Because like when the baby's being born, the baby doesn't want to remain a fetus for the rest of its life. The baby knows on some level that, fetal stage is like 9 months, and then you're going out of the womb, you're going to experience something different, you're going to experience the world, you're going to grow and become a grown-up human. And nobody wants to stay fetus for the rest of their lives. But the birthing process, it's not pleasant, it's not easy. Not for the baby, not for the mother. It's actually quite painful, and it can take some time. And what we're going through collectively and individually is actually a huge birthing process of the new world. A world which is going to be created on a high vibratory level. But the birthing process is not necessarily pleasant. But it's inevitable, it's evolution. The fetus has to go on, and the fetus has to become a baby, and the baby has to grow. And it's the same with us humans, evolutionary process in our consciousness. We have to grow. We have to get out of that fetal stage and become full-blown humans. And this is what's happening right now. And the thing is that the more you resist on a personal level, the more painful the process becomes, because it's almost like being a fetus and saying, I don't want to be born. I don't want to go through that birth channel. I don't want to move on. I want to stay in my room where it's like comfortable. It's cozy. It's dark. The sounds are muffled. This is my comfort zone. I don't want to continue the journey. But the thing is that life pushes you on. You don't have a choice, because you signed up to come here. And once you're here, you don't have a choice. You will be birthed. You will be pushed out. And the more you resist the process, the more painful it becomes, because you're like in a huge river, which is just taking you where it wants you to be. So the more you can accept the changes which are currently in place, and they're coming, there are more changes are coming, but the more you can accept them, the more you can just loosen up your control gene, the easier it's going to be. The easier it's going to be for you and for everybody. Because we're moving into the, you can call it Age of Aquarius or the new era, whatever you want to call it. And there's no going back. This process is a birthing process. It's going to continue. And you can't go back to the cozy, secure environment in the womb. You have to go through the birth channel, which is narrow, and it pushes you. And it's like uncomfortable, but that's a part of it. And a part of this process is learning to release attachments. And by that I mean attachments to our current reality, which means everything you created on this level, be it your spouse, partner, family, friends, colleagues, job, hobbies, the place where you live, everything that like defines who you are, your identity, will have to be redefined in order to reach the next vibratory stage. And this is a very important point to like keep in mind, that the more you're able to release attachments, the easier the process gets. So if you at some point you can see that people are leaving your reality because they have a different soul contract, you have to start accepting and trusting the process. If you see that your job is disappearing or whatever else is disappearing from your life, the more you can accept it and loosen up control and trust that there's like a higher meaning, there's like a higher plan for your life, the easier it's going to be for you. So basically, in these times, and especially, as I say, as the energy is changing massively here this autumn 2022, we have to start practicing the art of surrender, the art of accepting and releasing attachments to what we have created, because otherwise it's not going to be easy for us. And I know this sounds like quite a mouthful, something that's not so pleasant to hear, but these are the harsh reality of the world right now. This is what we're living right now. We're living these times. And the more we just can flow with the river, the easier it's going to be for us. So I hope that these spiritual principles can map the road for you, that they can make your journey a little bit easier. Because, these events are going to take us in a different direction. And it's important that you're prepared, spiritually prepared and mentally and emotionally prepared, because if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have that GPS, that internal GPS firmly in place, if you're just reacting to the environment, if you're just reacting to what's going on, to the events, you'll get hit by waves of desperation and waves of confusion and fear. But if you understand you're in the middle of the ocean, you cannot see the shore that you left. You cannot see the shore you're sailing to, but now you're in the right direction, no matter what's going on. And if you understand that these are the transitional phases in the journey where you have to release attachment to the previous shore and trust that the next shore is coming, even though you can't see it yet. And if you release control, if you just allow that huge sea to slowly move you forward, push you forward, you'll eventually reach that shore. But you have to trust. And you have to release attachment to what you have, even though it seems pretty overwhelming, but it's a part of the process. So anyway, I hope that these words are a little bit of help, that they can help you map the process, understand the process, and hope to see you another time. Bye-bye.